You might ask, how do you get up there to look through it? And that's one of my favorite parts. You can use this old ladder that we have. This is original to the facility, but even that at the highest point is not quite high enough to get up there. So the amazing thing is that this entire floor lifts up. And this floor rises up, and as we go up, there are 4 points around that have weights that get lowered down to perfectly balance the weight of the floor as it rises. And this floor can rise all the way up to that second balcony. When you're ready to observe, you also want to make sure that the dome is in the right position so that the door is pointed out where the telescope is looking. So I'll move the dome a little bit. Then to position the telescope, we can actually move it. So when you come to observe, once you have your telescope, your lens in, you have the dome aligned, you can use the big wheels up here. You can see the one that's got 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. That tells you the declination degree, so how high you are above the horizon. And so you line up that little white line roughly with where you want your telescope to point, the coordinate of the object. There's another one around the other axis of moving that's called your right ascension. And so you line up your object that way, and then you look through this telescope on the side, which is called the finder scope. Thankfully, it's still aligned very well with the telescope. So you look through here, and you try to shift the telescope so that your object goes into the center of the finder scope. And once your object's in the center of the finder scope, then you'll be able to see it in your big telescope. One of the most famous people who passed through Yerkes was Einstein. In 1921, he visited the US for the first time, and he said he wanted to visit 2 places. He wanted to go to Niagara Falls, and he wanted to visit Yerkes Observatory. So he came through here, took a wonderful photo with the group, all the astronomers on this floor with the telescope, and then went on the next year to win his Nobel Prize for General Relativity. So it was a really key period for Einstein to be able to visit Yerkes. Maintenance for this telescope. When I first opened it up after its long sleep of 5 years, I could not move it easily. In order to make the movement smooth, there are little points all over that we have to grease and we have to oil, and then we move the telescope. So now I can actually move it by hand without a whole lot of problems. We do clean the lens occasionally. There is one lens that is 40 inches across, and it kind of looks like a magnifying glass. It's thicker in the center, and then it gets more narrow as you go to the outside. And that causes some optical effects in the telescope called chromatic aberration. The blue light focuses in a different place than the red light. And so as you shift your object through its focal plane, you start to focus on the red light and then through to the blue light. So to counteract that, one thing that they did with this telescope is they have one 40-inch lens, and about 8 inches closer to us, they have another lens that has a different shape. And so the light passes through one lens and then goes through the second lens. So that affects that chromatic aberration, but then it means you have another surface of glass to try to clean. So to actually look at the lens, what we do is we lift the floor all the way up and get the telescope pretty close to horizontal. And then you take it and you push it up as hard as you can, and the other side comes down, and you have to have somebody over there to catch it to prevent it from crashing into the floor. And then you can look at the lens. You need to have alcohol, you need to have cotton wool, and very gently remove any material. But you have to clean that very carefully so as not to scratch or etch any parts of the glass.